Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about our next market type, and that's monopolistic competition, or chapter 13 in our book. This is our third market structure, and it lies just next to perfect competition. So even though it has monopolistic, almost like monopoly in the title or in its name, they are separate, and I'll show you maybe how they're similar or not alike in a few minutes after we go over some of these characteristics. But I just want to make it clear that when I do say monopolistic competition or monopolistically competitive firms, that has to do with this chapter, not a monopoly. So in a monopolistic competition, there are many small firms, just like perfect competition, but they're selling differentiated products. This means that their goods are similar, but not identical now. There is easy entry and exit into the market, and these firms compete or use something called non-price competition. That's about advertising. So we really haven't seen that yet, and this is the first time we've talked about it. There is some control over price. These firms have. An example we can talk about that affects, or that we certainly think about probably, is the market for jeans. Now, we probably all have our favorite pair of jeans, and they're going to differ in a lot of ways. Probably we like different brands, colors, fits, anything like that. Even pricing, like if we're okay spending $100 for a pair of jeans versus not. All of these things are what makes jeans different to you, me, and everyone else. And that's why we don't view these products as identical. They're differentiated. Other examples might be shoes, fast food, really any type of clothing. And a lot of times you see these products on TV being advertised, or possibly hear it on the radio. So the first thing I want to talk about here after that is just what we call the Herfindahl Index. This is a way to measure the concentration of firms in a market. Now, I said in this chapter we will not be going over the four-firm concentration ratio. Sorry, forgot what it's called. But we'll be using this Herfindahl-Hirschman Index, or Herfindahl Index, your book calls it. And so let's just start out with an example. Again, we're talking about market concentration when we talk about these types of indexes. Let's say there's 6 firms, and we want to know how concentrated the market is. So maybe one firm owns 60% of the market, another 20, another 15, and then 3%, and 2 have 1% of the market. Now, a question you might see like this would be, what is this index number? Well, all you have to do is you're going to square each actual number. Don't take a decimal, just take the full number. So instead of a percent, take 60. We square that, and that's 3,600. Square 20, that's 400. We square 15, that's 225. And 3 squared is 9. And the last two are just 1. And then we're going to add all of these up. And if you do that, the index you should get is 4,236. So gave you an extra comma. 4,236. Now let's talk about some what this number actually means, right? Just a number, but we want to talk about if it's the market's concentrated or not. And our range for this index goes from 0 to 10,000. Where 0 is pure competition, because there's so many small firms in the market. When you square them, they're almost insignificant, and you'll end up with just 0. And 10,000's at the other end of the range, and that's monopoly. Because if there's only one firm, we would take 100% and square it, which gives us 10,000 here. So ours lied a little under the middle, 4,200. And really some things you want to think about maybe is that the Federal Trade Commission and Department of Justice actually use this to look at markets that might have mergers, more things like that. And they typically say if it's less than about 1,800, the index, that the market's fairly competitive. And then greater than 2,500, it's concentrated. So ours was definitely greater than 2,500, and that's really all we can say here in our analysis, just that it's concentrated. We don't really have numbers about, where monopolistic falls or, what limit it's there, but you want to know about this concentrated really and what's competitive. All right, so some other things with monopolistic competition is that the demand curve is elastic, but not perfectly elastic. Remember what we had for perfect competition. So it's not a flat, straight line for the firm. They do have a downward sloping line, and you're going to realize it looks something like a monopoly. And let's think about that for a second. Think about the Whopper at Burger King. Whether you like Burger King, whether you like Whoppers or fast food, just think about Whoppers for a sec. Now, burgers across the fast food spectrum differ in ways. Most of the time, you're thinking of a burger. However, the Whopper has, different characteristics, and you can't get that at any other firm, right? You can't go to McDonald's and ask for a Whopper. They'll give you a Big Mac, but that's slightly different. So monopolistically competitive firms are going to act more like a monopoly in the short run. And then in the long run, it's almost like pure competition. So I'm going to put PC here. That's pure competition. So let's go to one example. Our sketchpad, I have it here. I'm going to just change the color, my pen. It'll let me. Okay. So this picture probably looks similar to you from what we saw in Chapter 12 on Monopoly. We have a downward sloping demand curve, and the marginal revenue curve is underneath. Nothing's changed. Marginal cost is increasing. So this is exactly the same as a monopoly. We won't do anything different. So if you want to know the quantity and the price, which you might be asked, first, we still set marginal cost equal to marginal revenue. That's always the case, no matter if we're in a different market structure or, whatever market structure we're in. And that gives us here the quantity. So where they meet is this point, and I'll just put Q1 for now. And because they still have some pricing power, they're going to price higher than this. They're going to go up to the demand curve and look over to this price, P1. So they're able to still charge a higher price because they have some market power, at least in the short run. If they have a positive or negative profit, that still depends on average cost. So if average cost were here, maybe the first one, can you see whether or not we have a positive or negative profit? In this case, it's actually positive. So we look at the average cost at Q1, our profit maximizing quantity. Where it hits the average total cost is less than the marginal cost, but also less than the price, way less than, right? So in this case, price is greater than average total cost, and we'd be making positive profits. Something like another average total cost curve up here, it's way up, right? And that will be too high. We would be making negative profits here. So average total cost, negative profits, or average total cost 2 is what I'm trying to say. And average total cost 1, this is positive. All right, I'm gonna stop this video and start a new one to talk about the long run.